You're listening to Real Estate for Real People, hosted by the Stone Sisters. The Stone Sisters have built an award-winning realty business, and they're here to share some of their knowledge with you. A new episode drops every Thursday. If you enjoy the show, please share it with a friend and leave a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. And visit www.stonesisters.com for more information just like this.
So welcome back. We are here, Real Estate for Real People, and we are talking about...
So you want to be a realtor? So we get asked all the time, real estate's always something I've been interested in, and I love looking at houses. Maybe I should become a realtor.
Or maybe you've already written your exam, you are a realtor, and you're looking for some steps and looking at what to do. We speak quite often at real estate offices and travel around and talk to offices about some of the things when you're getting into the business, some of the helpful tips. So today we are going to share with you 5 things to become a successful realtor, 5, activities that you can do.
Yeah, 5 tips because, there are a huge number of people who get into the business. You just spoke at a RE/MAX orientation with a room full of people, 50 new agents, the majority of whom, in all likelihood, I don't know that group, but just generalizing, the vast majority of whom will not be in the business a year from now. Tons of people get in and tons of people get out. And I think it's a harder industry than one realizes. Incredibly rewarding. I can't imagine doing anything else.
No,
but I think here are some key things that you could implement and do to help make sure you are a success.
So the first thing I think is when you're starting brand new in the business, you're up against other people that have been in the business for 10, 15, 20 years. They know the business in and out. They have a brand behind them of their own brand. And so I think, a few things are, the first one is become an expert. So become an area expert. Know the area that you're selling. For us, it's the Okanagan. So we know the Okanagan really well.
And I'm going to interject for a moment there because when I got into the business, it was 10,000 years ago. It was 1995. And I'd lived here my whole life and our mom and dad were realtors. And Dad said to me, okay, I need you to know everything. Really know the area. And I said, well, Dad, I've lived here my whole life. I know it. And he's like, okay, well, what's the average house price in Glenmore? I'm like, I don't know. And he's like, what's the quickest way to get to the end of Clifton? I'm like, the end of Clifton? Like, I don't know.
Or what's the best school for kids to go to? I don't know.
And the thing that's going to sink you really, really fast is when you speak to a prospect, you speak to a potential seller or a potential buyer. They'll let you get away with 1 or 2 I don't knows. You start to ramp, start to have more, I don't know, I'll get back to, I'm not sure. You're dead in the water.
Well, it's a competitive business. I mean, here in Kelowna, we have 800, 900 realtors. So every market is competitive. So you have to know your area. You have to know the market conditions. And I think have your tips. I mean, we often talk about with our group having your reasons to buy and your reasons to sell. And with that can't just be generic reasons. It needs to be proven by stats. I think the only thing that really helps us and really makes us seem that we know what we're talking about is when you actually have proven stats as far as the market knows. Know your average sale price, know list to sell ratio, know those things.
Absorption rate. You do want proof. And I think there are lots of opinions out there. And what gives you, value.
Credibility.
Exactly. Is truly knowing the numbers. And it's real insider information, if you will.
Yeah.
Truly.
And I think that's why people are hiring us is for that insider information. That's a great point. So you want to know what areas of town have clay in the soil, what areas in town are the water's not great, and know those things so that even, if, typical thing when you're showing with property with someone is you say, this is a great area because the water's actually quite good. There's some areas where the water might not be as great. And suddenly that person's going, well, I need you. You mean there's areas where the water's not good?
And they've been out with 5 other realtors, none of whom have told them any of those sort of things. So it really does build credibility, knowing, you want to be an expert on what the official community plan is of your city or town, what roadways are coming, attending city council meetings online or in person. It's a really good way to know just sort of what's coming down the pipe. And
it's a great point. I mean, it's something that most other realtors in your area will not do, which has gone to the city council and know things that are coming. They know where, that big development is going to be built next to this house that person's trying to buy. I mean, know all of those things because then you come across as the expert. But more importantly, you're truly doing your service and helping that client.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because I think people look at real estate and go, well, the classic one, we hear it all the time is, well, I'm going to be a realtor because I love looking at houses.
Yeah, I love houses.
And I look at it and go, that's the least part of this job is houses, actually.
It's true.
That's what we're selling truly is our advice, is our expertise, is our knowledge. The houses are just the byproduct.
It's true. Absolutely. So the next thing when you're starting is...
Tip number 2. I've been wanting to say that.
I know. There you go. You got it. Is who's your sphere? Know your sphere that you have.
Sphere of influence. Like that's all the people, everybody you've ever known.
And I think if you're moving to a new area, and people say that all the time, they ask, well, I'm moving to a new area. What advice do you have? Join groups. Join as the walking group, the cycling group, the whatever it is.
Toastmasters.
Join as many things as you can. Join those, though, that you're interested in. Otherwise, it's not going to be truly authentic to who you are. So I think join those groups that you'll meet people that are like-minded like you. And that becomes your database, really.
Well, it's funny because we still have people on our database. When I got in, again, going back to when I started in the business and I was young and looked younger, I looked like I was 11.
You did not. Okay, I'm going to show a picture just for reference. Tamara, when she got into the business, looked way older than she does now. I will at some point share that photo. Carry on.
I've burned the photo. But it, when I got in, Dad said, okay, well, write down a list of every single person you've ever met and put them on a mailing list and start sending them snail. I mean, this was pre-email and all of that. But I had every high school teacher on there. I had all my parents, all my friends from school's parents. I had anyone I'd ever worked with at the keg or gone to college with. I had anyone I met who, customers that I'd served at the restaurant I was working at a lot. And they started, whether they wanted to or not, getting mail from me. And some of them have never reached out and some of them are still on our database, but lots of them asked to be removed. Lots of them engaged and we've helped lots, but it is sit down and write out, everyone that you can think of who may want to start to follow you, or let them know it's exciting that you're getting into this industry and let them know that this is what you're doing, because we see all kinds of blatant real estate agents that they're a realtor from 20 feet away. And then there are the secret agents who are, don't want to tell people, or they're a bit embarrassed or they're shy. So,
and and that's a great point, because if you don't promote yourself, no one's going to know what you do. Yeah. And they also won't know that you're passionate about it and you're excited about it. So I think sharing that with people shows your emotion that you're really enjoying what you do.
Yeah.
And, we're lucky. We're fortunate now. We're in an age where social media is really easy to communicate messages out. So I think use your platforms and promote the fact that you are a realtor. You're so excited. You're a realtor now. And, share your successes. Yeah, I know it can be, you don't want to come across as bragging, because that's something that I often hear from people saying, well, I don't want to brag. Yeah. But if you don't once in a while say your successes, people might think, oh, yeah, they're a realtor, but I don't think they do anything. You want to share that, you actually, you do real estate. You're good. You know what you're talking about. And if you don't want to share that you sold a property or what have you all the time, share that expert advice that you learn. Yeah. And know and compare that, hey, I'm knowledgeable. You need me because I know where the water is good.
Absolutely. Okay. Tip number 3.
Are you going to say that every time?
Yeah. I'm really excited. Can we have more than 5?
Oh, great. Okay. So the next tip is find a mentor. So find someone that you see in the industry who can guide and you can go to for questions. You're going to have lots of questions.
Yeah. Yeah. And honestly, I believe that people who've been in the industry a while and some brand new who have been doing well, find a mentor who's been in it a year or two at least, but they will be a great resource. And I think our industry attracts people who are generous and giving and enthusiastic and extroverted typically. And they want to help and they really want to see you succeed and will happily give you some good advice and help you perhaps on pricing a property, help you navigate a dicey situation, help you deal with a complaint, because that's going to happen too. You're going to have someone not happy and it can be terrifying. But, if you find a good mentor, they've probably faced that situation and will be willing to share what they did or what their advice is to help you.
And a question we get asked all the time is, should I join a team? And, and again, of course, with the team, you do get that mentorship, which is great. And, that's a question that's really personal. I don't think that we can say, yes, 100% everybody should join a team. I mean, we're biased, yes, because we work together and we do have, now we're our own brokerage, but we were a team with the agents with us. And we love that collaborative approach. I love that I can, talk to one of the other agents and get their opinion. I also love seeing them succeed. To me, that's more than seeing us, sell a property, is to see them sell a property. So, I think there's huge benefits to that, but you also have to be a team player and want to be in that. So I think that's a personal sort of question. But certainly a mentorship that you can, have that person that you can ask questions to is big.
It's huge.
So
Tip number 4. I'm getting really good at this. Can I hold the mic?
I think next time you have to sing it. Okay.
It ends
okay.
there.
Actually, you're right.
You've heard me.
I've heard. Okay, so the next one is, how do I market? I'm brand new in the business. Do you have a budget? What are you going to do with that? How do you market and get the message out there?
And it can be so tricky because there are so many ways to get your name out there. And I love what you said earlier, Shannon, when you said, be authentic to who you are. And so, if you join Toastmasters and you're actually terrified to get up and stand up in front of people, but you think it's good to have an audience to tell them what you do, that's terrible. But, pick one thing. I mean, there's a philosophy out there that it's sort of the spray and pray mentality. So you spray your marketing message really thinly. You give it one spray and
you do market everything. You do flyers, you do,
bus benches, a bus, a billboard, unaddressed ad mail, addressed ad mail, social media videos.
I mean, we've seen this happen. We saw a realtor get into the business and spend a fortune, spent more than what they made, and then quickly got out of the business.
It was unfortunate because I think the realtor really had a phenomenal skill set and a great ability. And the realtor earned over $100,000 their first year in the business. First year in the business, new to the city, made over $100,000.
And that was quite a few years ago.
Yeah. And it was remarkable. And we went up to the agent and congratulated them and just said, what an effort. And holy smokes, we've never seen anyone do that. That's unbelievable. And that's when the person said, yeah, that's great, except it cost me $110,000. So this person absolutely depleted all their life savings and in putting out this massive marketing message. And it takes a long time. What do they say, Shannon? You look at all these studies.
Yeah, they say it takes at least 6 times for somebody to see a message before they even recognize it, acknowledge it. That's not necessarily saying they're going to phone you right then, but it takes them that long to actually recognize the brand, at least 6 times. So I think spray and pray method.
Yeah. Spray and pray does not work. And I think, how do you market? I think you try and do things that are free to begin with. Like,
for sure. I mean, I guess it depends on, how much that you do have to spend, but I think do what's authentic to you. If you're not someone that can sit on the phone and phone people, randomly, then don't do that. Door knocking, Tamara and I, we've spoken at a few things and we would go door knocking for shoes. And so if we hit a certain amount of doors and we got in contact, we'd be able to go out and buy new shoes. So it was our incentive. Yeah. But it worked for us. It might not work for everyone. And some people might be terrified to go and knock on doors. Yeah. So then don't do that. Do what's in your comfort level. Yeah.
Open houses. If we weren't having open houses through COVID, we're starting to see them again. To me, the likelihood, I think sellers typically, not always, but a lot of sellers think, okay, that's how you sell a house. You're going to have an open house. The likelihood of a house selling at an open house is slim, truly. But the likelihood of your goal always is to make a connection. I think people do business with people they like. And so if you're doing an open house, you might be a brand new realtor, might not have a listing, but there's somebody in your office or in your town or someone's got a listing and they don't want to be sitting there doing an open house. So maybe you get open house signs with your name on them and you go and know everything about that house you're sitting at. And chat with people and build a connection and build a rapport. And you may not sell them that house, but they may like you enough that you can go sell them something else.
And I think too, it goes back to step number 1. Did you want to say that instead?
No.
I'm saying, do you want to repeat and say step number 1?
Oh no.
So sorry. So going back to step number 1 is knowing the market and knowing the area. So doing that open house, it's not going to be effective if you just hold open the open house and you're sitting sleeping on the couch. We have had that happen before.
A few times we've seen that.
But that's not going to be effective, and you're not going to get any business that way. But if you're at that open house, you're engaging, as Tamara said, with the people, but you also are a market expert. So those people are coming into the house and you say, this house style doesn't quite work for you. Well, you know what? I know of one that's coming down the road and it actually has that 3 bedrooms up that you're looking for. Or did you know the average house price in this area of the last 3 months of the ones that have sold is X price?
Yeah.
So, you might want to find something that's around this price point. Or, there's another area. Have you thought about Wilden as another neighborhood? Because it's actually comparable to this neighborhood.
Yeah.
It's knowing that and giving people options. Again, that expert advice, and people need you, that insider information. Always have that insider information.
I think we could all relate to going into a clothing store or a furniture store. There's, a furniture store. It's actually quite nice to shop for furniture right now because there's no staff, so you don't get hounded. But a few years ago, I went into a store which will remain unnamed, and walked in and divided. I was with my husband, and we walked in the front door, and I said, "Okay, you go left, I'll go right." And we saw 2 salespeople come up, and they were watching us, and then we split. So Derek and I went opposite directions. Yeah, thinking we're tricky. And they split too, and they're following us, and they're on you, and they're hounding, and you're just like, go away. I think an open house can be like that. Hi, I'm Tamara with Stone Sisters. Would you like to buy this house? They're going to turn around and run.
Yes.
But if you just say, hi, I'm Tamara. Did you see the ad or did you just see the for sale signs? I would always ask that at an open house. I never had an ad. Everybody said they saw the ad. And I'm like, oh, okay, great. So the price is $789,000. Here's a brochure. If you need anything, I'll be in the kitchen. And physically, you can see their shoulders kind of drop. And they're like, oh, good, she's not going to hound us. Well, then I come back 3 minutes later. By the way, this is a secret panel that lets you, out of the bathroom, whatever, some sort of thing. Yeah. But I'd try and just be subtle and then drop those hints of information that, those people who are coming to an open house have maybe been to 10 other open houses. And they've been, they might actually be shopping for a realtor. And if you're really aggressive or really on them, they're not going to pick you. Yeah. You did an open house, Shannon. Talk about that because you did one. Yeah. A surprise one.
I did. I did an open house. Oh gosh, it was a couple of years ago now, I think maybe. Yeah. Anyway, before COVID, I did an open house and was an agent. I ended up filling in. It was sort of a bit of a last minute and I ended up jumping in and hosting this open house. And these clients came through. And they said, I said exactly what you did. I said, so how did you hear about the open house? And, gave them a little bit of information. Then I walked away. Then I came back and I said, I just wanted to point out when you go into the master, just make sure that you open up the closet. It's actually really big and it will fit all of your things in there. And then I'd leave them alone. Then I'd go back again and I just gave a couple little tips. Then I'd go back and I'd say, oh, so you've got kids because their kids were with them. And I'd say, oh, so yeah, are you looking just in this neighborhood or have you looked at other neighborhoods? Have you guys seen many open houses today? Is it busy out there or is it just engaging in conversation? So they left the open house and then they came back an hour later and they said, yeah, I know we met you already earlier. And they said, and we don't actually like this house, but we like a house that we just went. Can you write the offer for us? And so there you go. It was just building that rapport and not trying to be so selling on that property itself, but just building that rapport with them and helping them. I mean, that's the whole thing is we're here to help. We don't want to be sold. None of us want to be sold.
No.
So I think your marketing needs to convey that and being engaging with people every time you're communicating with them. A great thing to do is put on your name badge and walk around the mall. It's free.
Costco. I find Costco is really effective.
You just like the free food.
I do actually.
But walking around Costco, the mall, somewhere wearing your name badge and people say, oh, you're a realtor? And then they might ask you a question and you say, no, of course, everybody asks. So how's the market? Well, it depends. Are you looking to buy or are you looking to sell? And have your reason to buy and your reason to sell.
And the thing is, the key with doing this and having your name badge on is when they point it out and go, oh, you're a realtor. Look down in shock and go, oh my gosh, I can't believe I left that on. And quickly unpin it. The minute you're done the conversation with them, go around the corner, put it back on and do it again.
But it's even sitting in a coffee store. Don't get stuck sitting in the office where your clients are not in the office. You're not going to meet anyone in the office. I mean, it's good to build rapport with other realtors. So that's important. But apart from that, get out of the office. And if you're doing computer work, bring your computer to a Starbucks.
Yeah.
Sit at that Starbucks or Blends or wherever your favorite coffee store is. Hopefully a neighborhood coffee store that's in the area that you know well.
Yeah. And have your name badge or have your
business card
company
down.
Logo stuck on the back of your laptop. And
you will be amazed at how many people stop to ask how the market is. And that it's just engaging in that conversation.
Opens up the door.
So there are lots of ways to market that are inexpensive. And of course, as you grow in your business, there's lots of other ways that you can spend your dollars looking at that. And ever questions you can
finish with tip number 5.
So tip number 5 is...
Because that was a good segue. So.
All right. Okay. So tip number 5 is creating a budget.
Yeah, it's absolutely critical. I think budget is a little bit of a dirty word or a word that, kind of makes me go, oh, I don't like that. I don't want to be on a budget. But it is absolutely imperative that you have a budget.
Absolutely. I mean, everything costs a lot. And something that's, you're going to get into real estate or you're already in real estate. So you might have experienced this already. But all of a sudden people see that you're in real estate. Oh, perfect. Can you advertise in my friend's kids, hockey schedule? Can you advertise and sponsor the school volleyball tournament? Can you do this?
You need to be in this magazine because all your competitors are. And
you'll start to get inundated. And it's great to have a budget. So you've got a plan ahead of time of, no, I can't do that. It's not in my budget. It's also a great reason to say to people why you can't advertise in something.
Yeah.
But it keeps you on track and makes sure that you're not overspending because as we said earlier with that one realtor, I mean, you can just spend a fortune in this business.
Yeah. Yeah, it's, and you see it sometimes. I mean, we certainly, we see it here and, looking around not only our city, but across the country, we're in a few mentoring, groups where we get together and open the books and everybody sort of shares ideas and what have you. And, some people spend, a really reasonable amount, their overall expenditures are 25%. Sort of a rule of thumb is to be no more than 30%. For expenses. We see lots of people who are spending 70%, 80%, and then you're taxed on the remaining 20%. And, I know when I was doing some coaching, for realtors, there were a number of people who they thought they were making great money because all that's talked about in our industry is your gross earnings. Which would be like somebody who owns a shoe store saying, okay, well, I sold $5 million worth of shoes last year, instead of going, well, but I had to pay $4.5 million to buy those shoes. And
yes,
they don't actually know. And I think, while we're saying budget, I think you do truly need to have a budget. And I think you need to set aside some money for tax.
Yes, that's huge.
It's a huge one. Lots of realtors get caught on that. So you have your office take off your income tax, or if you're disciplined, do it yourself. But take off that money, really look at what it costs you to live, and then sort of look and go, okay, well, if my budget is about 30% to be spending, where do I best want to spend that money? Because it's so easy to have it spiral out of control. And there are so many people who will convince you that you will do more business if you buy gold-plated pens and hand them out.
And I think that's also another thing as well, is looking at the marketing side and budget. Just because people in the industry do a certain thing doesn't mean that they should be doing a certain thing. So if you get into the business and you're thinking, everybody's advertising in this magazine, so I have to be in there. Well, do you? Yeah. Are they all just advertising because everyone else is advertising in that magazine? Does that actually help them grow their business? So, and I think that's something as you develop and grow in real estate is constantly be looking at your budget and at those expenditures and wondering, am I getting a return on these? And
you're so good at this too, Shan. So when we want to add something new, because we are like squirrels. So we'll hear of a new idea, and I'm like, Shannon, this is going to be brilliant. Shan's like, okay. She runs the analysis. She's like, maybe yes, maybe no. And if it's a yes, then we look at everything else and say, okay, well, what's going to go? Because we won't just continuously add and increase our spending. We do look at that rate of return, and you're pretty ruthless with, what's not performing, and then
get rid of it.
Yeah.
So, and there's a lot of ways that you can advertise, that don't cost a lot. There's a lot of things you can do that are on a good, fair budget. Your real estate brokerage probably provides a lot of marketing things that you can use just to start. So, so that is all for tips number 5. No, hold on. Oh, you get to say it. Okay.
No, you can do it. It's your turn.
No, go for it.
Okay. Bonus. Tip number 6. I just want to keep going. This is the last one. We mean it this time.
We think we're so funny.
I think we are. Mom said we are.
Yeah, that's true. And she's not biased at all. So tip number 6 is, routine. I think you suddenly get into the real estate business and you are your own boss. And that's why a lot of us get into the business, is because we can be our own boss. We can be flexible, which is great, but sometimes too much flexibility can hurt us. So I think having a good routine to some degree, whether that's a weekly routine that you have to make a certain amount of phone calls, or every single day you have to do a certain thing. But I think plan what your routine is going to be and stick with that.
Yeah, I think a key, what a lot of people, and I talk about this a lot with our brokerage, with our realtors and with you, Shannon, but a lot of people, we all know what we need to do, to be out there prospecting or, lead generation or developing relationships. And we do that. And then we start to get busy. It starts to work. And so we stop doing what made us busy.
Yes.
And this is a reactionary business where when you have no business, it's easy to do all the things you should be doing.
Yeah.
And then you get clients, you get a listing, and you work so hard to sell that, or you have buyers and you work so hard to find them a house. So you stop doing everything else. You stop doing all the prospecting that got you that client. You go through the high of finding them a house, and it's like a roller coaster. Then it goes back down. And once the home sells or the buyers buy, you're back to ground zero. And you got to start again, and you got to start your prospecting. And that's, it takes a few months for any of that to have traction. So the routine really is important, to always be doing a little prospecting. But, myself, I like to do 40 minutes a day of prospecting. So that's not much. It's very doable. And 5 days a week to sending note cards, phoning people, sending direct messages on Instagram, picking up the phone and calling them, whatever it is. And for me, that's a small amount, but it seems to be enough to keep that pipeline
funnel going.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I think that's...
And then routine as well. I think, on that, taking care of yourself.
Yeah, for sure. Planning to make sure that you do, go to the gym if you like to go to the gym, or go for a hike, or go for a run.
Make a plan for some nutritious, good meals, because realtors are notorious for eating takeaway food and, picking up at a fast food restaurant.
Oh, I mean, how many years I lived off of granola bars. I mean, really, and that's just not healthy. And you don't have the energy or what have you. So absolutely make sure, pack a lunch. It sounds like such a simple thing, but it's something that we often forget about. And I think too, I'm a big checklist person. So for me, I love to have a checklist that I get to check off every day. It's just, it's the same with my Apple Watch. I love that I close my circles every day. I mean, I make my circle, my calories have to be super low. No, I'm not kidding.
But they're not. I follow you there.
But I think it's that, you pat yourself on the back, and it's that little sense of accomplishment. So having a checklist of, I have to make 5 phone calls today, and write out those 5 people that you have to contact. And then you get to check each one off. You feel that sense of accomplishment. And right then that gives you that energy to then go out and door knock or walk the mall with your...
And I think that's really important, because when you're new in the industry or just coming into the industry, and you're not going to have a sale straight away or every day. I mean, we don't have sales every day, but if you don't have something that is the typical sort of pat on your back, it's really easy to get down on yourself and just go, okay, this isn't working. Whereas if you've got that checklist and you go, okay, today I phoned 5 people, I did some door knocking, I walked around Costco. Like if you've created a bit of a routine, you will start to see the results, and you can look back and go, well, today I phoned 5 people, but this week that means I phoned 25 people, which means this month, and it builds.
So any other tips or any other further comments before we'll let you guys go and get on with selling?
We think it's a phenomenal industry. I truly can't think of anything else I would rather do. It's incredibly rewarding. It's fun.
Every single day is different.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, if you have further questions, feel free to always reach out to us. We are more than happy to help, and
go have fun and be a success, because you can be.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Real Estate for Real People. If you want to reach out to the Stone Sisters, visit www.stonesisters.com. This podcast was produced by Podigy Podcasts. See you next time.